രാജേശ്വരി വെങ്കിട്ടരമണൻ 130 വാക്ക് ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ഷോർട്ട് ആൻഡ് സ്പീഡ് ഡിക്റ്റേഷനാണ്. ഇത് നിങ്ങൾ നല്ലവണ്ണം പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്താൽ SSC പരീക്ഷയ്ക്കും KGT ഹൈ സ്പീഡ് ഇതൊക്കെ വളരെ നല്ലവണ്ണം എഴുതി പാസ്സാവാൻ സാധിക്കുന്നതാണ്. ഓക്കെ, തുടങ്ങാം. Gentlemen, let us examine the 5 essentials in order, starting with the question of investment capital for development. Inevitably, most of the capital requirements of any nation must be met from indigenous resources through increased private savings or through various forms of taxation and other government limitations on consumption. While private saving in most developing nations will ultimately provide the major source of capital, deep-seated community attitudes usually have to be changed before the source can effectively be tapped. Only in a reasonably secure social and economic environment can people be persuaded to part with their gold ornaments, excess acreage, and other traditional forms of financial security. In most less developed nations, therefore, the capital requirements for the initial stages of the growth process must be met largely by the government, drawing on a wide variety of tax sources. For instance, land taxes can be progressively increased on large holdings. This not only raises revenue, at the same time it encourages the development of more efficient family-sized farms. Sales and excise taxes can provide additional revenue and serve as a means for directing investment to selected capital projects. Incomes can also be taxed on a progressive basis. The argument that a reasonably progressive income tax reduces the incentive for private investment does not stand up in practice. More than half a century ago, when the United States first introduced such a tax, the cries of anguish were loud and clear. There is no evidence, however, that the income tax has damaged the productive capacity of the United States. Instead, it has brought about a democratic redistribution of incomes, which has created the mass purchasing power that has provided our economy to our higher levels of production. There are clear limits, however, on the amount of domestic capital that can be accumulated through taxation and restricted consumption. Those taxes which are easy to collect, like excise taxes and sales taxes, fall most heavily on the people least able to pay and therefore reduce the purchasing power necessary to maintain minimum standards of living. The taxes which would benefit the economy most, like the income tax, are notoriously hard to collect. Moreover, because so few people in the developing nations have large incomes, this tax source is limited. Although the export of raw materials may offer another major means of capital accumulation, such exports in themselves do not assure the broad-based economic development which we are seeking. The exports of coffee, tin, oil, and other basic materials, for instance, have earned generous incomes for many Latin American producers. But because only a meager fraction of the total income from these exports has shifted down to the people who work the fields and mines, the gap between rich and poor has been steadily growing. In spite of the vast oil wealth of West Asia, the majority of the people still live in dire poverty. In view of these limitations, it is not surprising to find that almost every nation that has succeeded in modernizing its economy has had the advantage of loans and grants from more advanced countries. The pace of United States development in the 19th century, for instance, was suspended by massive amounts of private capital from Europe, with the possible exception of Japan, the only nation that has modernized its economy without foreign capital assistance in Russia. Sir, I write to state that, consequent in integration of old Madras, Hyderabad, Bombay, and Coorg with new Mysore stage, a few officials have been posted to this office to cope with the increased work. Among the officials posted to this office, there are 2 stenographers and 4 typists. There are at present 12 typewriters in this office, and all the 12 will be engaged by the 12 stenographers and typists. Though additional stenographers and typists have been posted to this office to attend to the increased work, there are no typewriters for them, and therefore they cannot be made use of fully. The work is, however, being carried on by shifted arrangements